Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 6:31 p.m. So if I can ask my council colleagues to come on up. Councilman Garcia, Councilman Sanchez, Alex. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're going to get started. Yeah.
Some of us gotta work. Gotta work.
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I think we'll have quite a bit of information presented, and I wanted to open it up as well to residents to ask their particular questions or to raise their concerns. But before we begin, if everyone can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by the Vice Mayor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation to be led by Councilman Garcia.
Thank you. Barheads. Dear Lord, we ask you for your guidance in this meeting with our residents to provide them relief in their time of need, for us to make good decisions and work together. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. You may be seated. So just to provide a little bit of background on the purpose of this town hall, traffic, of course, is a big issue that plagues our community and the broader Miami-Dade County community as a whole. And of course, we as a council are constantly working on ways to address it. But a lot of things are not always in our direct control, right? Laws are changing that limit local control over certain development decisions. We also have jurisdictional issues with respect to our roads, even though we own them, where we need to frequently ask other governmental bodies for authorization to make certain improvements. And that can be a time-consuming process. So the genesis of this was to have a town hall where residents can not only raise their concerns, but also get information on the challenges that we face in trying to address this issue. And then also to just go ahead and just provide a broader sort of FAQ, frequently asked questions, answers to those frequently asked questions that come up on Facebook and other social media platforms that we constantly have to be addressing. So I wanted to begin actually first and foremost with the jurisdictional challenges we face. So for that, I'm going to turn to our Deputy Town Attorney, Lorenzo Corbiella, to kind of, if you could, just wherever you feel is appropriate, to kind of explain some of the jurisdictional issues that we had, for example, in the bridge litigation with Hialeah, and, even with light synchronization, how that all functions, just give a legal lay of the land. And then from there, we'll turn over to staff led by Manager Peterman, who is with us tonight, to kind of discuss projects that are in the works right now, as well as other solutions that we're working on in the medium to long term. And then we'll turn it over as well to our incoming major, we'll call him the major designate, Lieutenant Ulloa, who will go ahead and explain what our police department's role in especially morning traffic management has been. So with that, Mr. Attorney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, council, manager, staff, and folks in the audience, our residents. So just to give you a quick overview of how roads work, it's jurisdictional in nature, just like many of our laws, many of our rules, and that govern everything that we do, right? At the top, you have the federal government, you have the state, and you have the county, and then you have us, the municipality. Roads are no different. They're governed kind of in the same fashion. You have interstate highways, you have the state street systems and road systems, you have then county-wide, and then you have municipal. When it deals with the town of Miami Lakes, we have State Road 826, which borders us, and that is a state road. You have Northwest 57th Avenue, which is also is our eastern border, and that is also a state road. And then you have county roads, such as 87th Avenue and 67th Avenue, which are both governed and administered by the county. And then you have what are our municipal roads, right, which are our town roads. Miami-Dade County is a little different from the rest of the state in that Miami-Dade County has what is called a home rule charter. And the home rule charter, what it does is that it gives Miami-Dade County greater powers than exist in other parts of the state. In other parts of the state, municipalities have a lot more authority, a lot more right to regulate speed limits, what are called traffic control devices, which are like your circular, which are your cross paths, which are your lights, your speed humps, and those sorts of things. In Miami-Dade County, however, the roads, especially for the newer municipalities, are governed by the county having engineering functions and the town basically having construction functions. And this is something that, as the mayor alluded to, we faced when we were having our litigation over the bridges. Why? Because when we became a municipality, when we became Miami Lakes, all these roads that existed, whether it's Miami Lakeway Drive, Miami Lakes Drive, Miami Lakeway North, Miami Lakeway South, they were all county roads. So at some point, 2003 to be exact, so 3 years after our incorporation, there was something called a road transfer agreement. And that road transfer agreement transferred those roadways to the town. And so now they became under our jurisdiction, right? Sort of ownership, we can call it, but we'll use the word jurisdiction, which is the correct word. And so now we had certain rights over those roads, but they weren't all rights. It wasn't a blank check. The county maintained what are called engineering functions, right? So anything that is engineering in nature, we've got to go to them. So, for instance, our lights, for instance, our where we put a stop sign, where we put a speed bump, where we decide to put a crosswalk, all those things are they are under the jurisdiction of the county. Several years ago, we entered into a interlocal agreement. And this is something that Omar and I worked on with the rest of the council in obtaining, which gave us certain engineering functions. And so we were able with that to lower the speed limits to 25 miles per hour to make it a lot safer for many of us that have golf carts to traverse around the town. Gave us the right to install speed humps, but it doesn't, again, give us a blank check. We have to follow certain FDOT guidelines and certain handbooks that are pre-approved by the county before we can go ahead and do any of that. And for many of these, let's call them traffic controlling devices, which they are, speed bumps, crosswalks, the roundabouts, they do require for the town to have an engineering study and make sure that we're not just acting in an arbitrary manner. So there's a lot of limitations on what we can do with our roadways. And what we do with our roadways really requires us to work in concert with our partners, that being FDOT, if we're talking about our state road, if we're talking about our highway system, the federal government to some extent. One of the newer features, hopefully coming online soon, it's been a very complicated project, is Northwest 59th Avenue. Northwest 59th Avenue is very complicated. Why? We have issues there with FAA and with Miami-Dade Department of Aviation because of the landing strip to Opa-locka. You have issues there because you have a canal, so you have Army Corps of Engineers, you have FDOT, you have Miami-Dade County. So again, many times when we're talking about road projects, to us it's a road, right? We own it. It's in our town. We have jurisdiction. Yes, but we don't have a blank check in what we can do and how we can create that road and how we can design that road and how we can administer that road. So that's basically an overview of the jurisdictional. Anything that you feel I left out?
Well, I think a good summary, I think you covered it pretty well. But
Thank you, Mayor.
to give you some examples of where that's been a challenge in its own right, not too long ago, Councilman Sanchez had pushed a no left turn sign on, it was 77th. Yeah, that's right. Southbound on 79th Avenue, or is that Court? Yeah, on 79th Avenue. And, even though it passed unanimously, and that would have, in our view, really helped the traffic situation affecting the school. Yes, it passed unanimous with the council is what I meant. We still had to go to the county, which in their judgment determined that this was not in the best interest of the broader road network. And so we weren't able to pursue that. Other examples is even though the council, when former Vice Mayor Jeff Rodriguez was here, because it was his item to reduce the speed limits across town, getting that approved by the county was also a cumbersome process because it had to go through the appropriate channels. And there's all sorts of other examples as well that I can get into, but just wanted to explain to residents that when we talk about make a road improvement project within our boundaries or adjusting the lights, it's not as simple as just a council decision and then the manager executes as it would be in other contexts, right? There's a whole procedure and process that has to be followed. And unfortunately, that process could be quite cumbersome and time consuming, even on simple matters, again, like speed bump placements, which does require resident signatures and meeting other criteria as well before they can even be implemented. So that was why I wanted the attorney to open us up with that regulatory framework. But from there, I'm going to turn it over. And by the way, there will be an opportunity for the public to address the council and vice versa once we get through all the presentations. So with that said, Mr. Manager, I don't know who you want to bring up first to kind of give an overview of our traffic improvement plans.
What our staff is going to do is we're going to present projects that have recently been completed, projects that are now they're under construction now, projects that are in the pipeline that will soon be kicking off. Some of them are our projects, some of them are other agencies, as Lorenzo explained. In and around us, we have the municipal roads, the town of Miami Lakes roads that we control, county roads, we have the expressways, some of which are controlled by the Florida Department of Transportation, some of which are controlled by an agency called the Greater Miami Expressway Authority. So all of that, we have two staff members, Omar Santos, which is our Director of Public Works, and Susana Alonso, which is our planning manager. They're going to go over those projects and just give you an overview as to what's the present state of those projects.
I'm not used to using this microphone, so forgive me. Susana Alonso, your Planning and Transportation Manager. I'm just gonna first go over a little bit of what Mr. Coello was mentioning. We do have to work with a lot of agencies, both at the state level, at the county level, semi-regional. And just so you know, we go to absolutely every workshop, every time they have get together of any sort, but we participate very actively and break out all of these concerns that we discuss at the town council. They get brought up relentlessly is the word I would like to use. We bring up every time anything gets asked, and whenever there's a new project coming in, we also make sure that the town's priorities and interests are always considered in these big projects, and that's first. Second, we do have a few projects that are completing right now, a few that are getting in design phase, and a few that are coming up soon. Do you want to, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Omar Santos, the Public Works Director, as the manager mentioned. So some of the projects that we have completed over the past years, some of these are more pedestrian and bicycle facility focused. For example, Northwest 60th Avenue, there's a new shared use path there, which we've seen get a lot of use, especially with the industrial sector there. People commuting to work, we've observed that. Other areas are safe routes to school projects. We've completed one on Miami Lakeway North and South, which provides connectivity from the K-8 center on 67th Avenue all the way through the middle school and Our Lady of the Lakes. So that has a full connection, half loop, if you want to call it. We also have the Bob Graham Education Center, safe routes to school. That one mainly was adding more crosswalk visibility and some sidewalk improvement and ramp improvements. And that was completed over the past 2 years. What we have in the pipeline right now, one of them you probably has high visibility under the Palmetto. We're currently expanding the existing turn lane there, the one that gets you from westbound 154 onto the southbound Palmetto. So we're expecting that to be completed within the next 2 months and should be opening and have some way to alleviate the traffic there, especially in the mornings. I experience it. A lot of people making that left turn to get onto the west side of Miami Lakes and getting into the industrial area. They sometimes back up on that turn lane and in the afternoons too. So that should alleviate increasing the queue and preventing that traffic from blocking that westbound flow. There's a second project that we just recently were awarded a grant. Thanks for the support of the state and this council and previous council. And that is the next turn lane from under the Palmetto. This would be 154 and 177th Court to turn south onto 77th Court. That's a new project that we recently got a grant for, and we're working on initiating design. We have another project that is, again, more pedestrian and bicycle facility focused, which was completed by the state instead of us. We had north of 154 77th Court. That project would start at 154 and end just north of, I want to use the culvert, but where the canal crosses, wish I had a map, but where the canal crosses 77th Court on the north side. So the state came to us with a proposal to do work on the road itself and some drainage. At that point, we made them aware of our project, and they agreed to incorporate our project for us into their project. So that was done for the town by the state at no cost to the town. So, and that was recently completed. We just are finalizing permits. And what that project achieves is a direct connection for people essentially, if you're walking on the 170th trail, and from there you make it all the way east and you want to get to 154, now you can actually make that loop. Before, there was no safe pedestrian facility to achieve that. So that's something that would help for people seeking to use other forms of transportation. Like the manager mentioned, we also have the 59th Avenue project. That's something that a lot of people in the town are very eager to see happen. We are making some very good progress in our design. The facility that the town purchased to put the road through, that's being demolished as we speak. We're about 50% completed or more at this point. So within the next month, that will be a site ready for roadway construction. Keep in mind, we still have to finish our roadway design and our permitting, but that we're pushing on our end to make sure that to get that done as ahead of schedule as possible as we can make it happen. And anything else I missed? Let me see.
And I see a few faces that were here last Thursday at the GMX project. That's obviously a project that the town is not doing ourselves because that's not our facility. But I see that some of you were here discussing the up and coming. Hopefully they'll get it done, and they'll get it done in a way that benefits the town, and that brings a lot of relief to a lot of other areas of the town that have a lot of pressure from people trying to get onto the interstate system. So, and he has one.
And then one more item that it's still in the early planning phases. We are developing proposals with our traffic engineering consultants, and it's looking at the 154 and Palmetto interchange. And when I say interchange, is more of just that crossing. It's, I would say, roughly about a mile radius in that area, and it's just to come up with solutions and do a feasibility studies on these to see what forms of infrastructure modifications can be done, or maybe timing, or on the engineering side, maybe just adjusting the timing, or a full infrastructure revamp of certain sections of the intersection to improve traffic flow. Again, that's in the very early stages. We're still discussing scope and the proposal, but that's something that we are working on our end.
And two more. These are more planning efforts. One is our two projects that we've been working for the last year and change is the Vision Zero for the town, where we're looking at our infrastructure from the point of view of, of safety of both pedestrians, bicyclists, vehicle users, and obviously residents and or visitors, commercial vehicles, all users of vehicles and all users of our road system. I know that some of you have been talking to our wonderful consultants that have been working on this project. And in conjunction with that, we're also working on the transportation master plan, which should also reflect a lot of these, hopefully some of the ideas we will get here will also get reflected in the transportation master plan. And we're looking at the entirety of our transportation system to see where improvements can be made, both from the point of view of safety and from the point of view of increased fluidity and increased usability and obviously comfort for residents and visitors alike. And we're about to embark on the freight portion of the Vision Zero as well, so that we make sure that all the trucks that are traveling through the community have a more safe approach to them, right? So that they have proper turning radii and that they're not traveling on residential roads and things like that. And that's an overhaul. I
Yeah.
think I haven't mentioned anything.
And let me just touch on one last thing. When you think of capital improvements, right? We have a big master capital improvement program. When you see all these drainage projects that are happening throughout the town, that is funded by our stormwater fee. That stormwater fee is generated by us, the taxpayers of the town. You don't pay it directly to the town, but you pay that stormwater fee through your water bill. But that money comes to us, and that really is the source of how we pay for all of our improvements with our drainage projects. We also sometimes get grants from or appropriations from the state. But every other aspect of our capital improvement program, we have to rely on other entities. We have to rely on grants. We rely on appropriations that sometimes is allocated by the state legislature. And we also rely on appropriations that come from the federal legislature. So those are the sources of funds that help create, they pay for most of our roadway capital improvement projects. I'm not talking about regular maintenance like patching a pothole but I'm talking about a capital improvement like some of the projects that they've described. We have to rely on other entities to help us fund those projects. The majority of the taxes that we all pay in our regular taxes go towards everyday operations, like for funding, our law enforcement operations, funding our parks and those kinds of everyday operations. But the capital improvement program, unfortunately, we have to rely on other entities to help us fund that. And we've been extremely successful. We have a person dedicated just to grants. The council has done a great job of partnering with our state legislators and our federal legislators and going and lobbying and helping us get a lot of money. We've been very successful in getting those monies, but it's not always completely 100% within our control to say, okay, we're going to dedicate X amount of dollars to those kinds of projects because we have to rely on somebody else to help us fund those projects. So I just wanted to kind of put that in perspective because we can plan and we can have all these great ideas but they're not worth anything if it's just a plan on a piece of paper sitting on a shelf, right? So the final piece of it is getting the money, and the council and our staff has been really good about going out there and applying for grants, getting grants, and lobbying the state legislature and the federal legislature and helping us fund those projects.
All right, and before we continue on, actually, don't go very far, Mr. Director. I wanted to turn it over to my colleagues for any questions that they might have of staff or the attorneys on what we've heard so far, or anything that you may want to bring up on your own. Mr. Vice Mayor, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah. First and foremost, Director Santos, you brought up a project. I think it was 154th and 77th Court. When was that grant awarded?
That was last year, 2025.
It was 2025. Okay.
It was an appropriation.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. It was an
Right, it was not a
appropriation.
grant, it was a state appropriation.
My apologies.
It was a
I just
Okay. And
put
then
them all under grants.
where are we on that one?
We're
Early design?
not designed yet. We're negotiating a work order with our consultants.
Because that one has to go over a canal, which complicates it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Another question I had was, Can you, and I think this one's more for the benefit of the residents and for me, but can you explain how, again, the intertwining of our relationship with the county affects the timing of the lights on 154th, how we have implemented systems to improve that timing?
I was gonna have our police department or our sheriff's department go ahead and describe that, since they deal with the county a lot more on that front.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could
But in
chime in,
any-
but they
But in
do
any
they
case,
typically-
though, there are days where where it's working perfectly fine, and then suddenly our residents wake up and it's not, and there's clearly something wrong with the lights. And I do want to get the message across that that wasn't us.
Correct.
That
So that-
was
so,
the county exercising its power.
Very
over
briefly,
lights.
the lieutenant will get into the more detail as far as the day-to-day operation, but as far as the way the system works, we do not, as the town, we do not have any control over it. If we want to make any changes, we actually have to call the county engineers, who actually have control of the software that changes or manages the lights. Each light has a little box next to it, which is a computer. That's the brain of those traffic lights, and that's managed by the county.
But also we installed like I forgot if they're radar, LiDAR, or whatever, the ones that count the number of cars in each carriage, on those lights, the AI system that you explained to me.
The adaptive signalization.
That,
Yeah, that was done by the town 2019, 2017. And then the county is the one that will operate that or operates that.
exactly. And, but also, I think it was a year ago or something. Weren't we still in the permit stages of parts of that project?
Yes.
Okay, so
It's
2019.
not,
when-
well, it's closing a permit, but
Okay.
the installations have been completed.
But it's not operational.
Correct. But that's up to the county if they decide to put it in operation.
Exactly. So the point I'm trying to drive across, and I'm sure the lieutenant will jump into it more, is we do try and we do listen and we do sit in the same exact traffic, and that there are just times where our role is less lawmaker and more advocate on your behalf, and there are other voices that need to agree with us, and they're not looking at just the borders of Miami Lakes. They're looking a little bit beyond, and maybe they're thinking, hey, yes, that is better for Miami Lakes, but then it really worsens the overall regional impact. And so they'll say no, and then we'll have to figure out and go back and negotiate. So just because at the beginning you did say that part of this was to address some of the comments we see on social media and stuff like that, and I know that that's a big one. So I'll let you continue.
Well, I just wanted to add some context on the adaptive light signalization. The county just recently switched vendors as far as the company that was going to be responsible for managing that program. So, and that was after years and years of delays. So right now there's also a transition going on. I think it's from Siemens to a different company. Well, no worries. I've been following it, and yeah. So I just know that that's another delay that's been going on at the county level. You know, that their private contractor that was going to handle this program, they just had to change over recently to a new company.
And the county has been performing upgrades to those cabinets in the past few months as well.
Yeah,
Through
you
the
know,
chair.
yeah, the Councilman Garcia.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody who's here today and for your concerns. We all share the same concerns when it comes to traffic. My concern to me is, and just hearing, you know, the AI and everything we put together in 2019, it's 2026, it's still not implemented. In what world is that acceptable? That is just unacceptable. What I'm finding is that the county, due to whatever reason, is always slow to react to us. The synchronization of the lights, every once in a while they go off, and it takes, I don't know how many days to get it fixed. That is unacceptable. This continues to happen, and they're slow to react. And what happens is residents are caught in their cars for 40 minutes, which, by the way, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars of lost productivity do we have in our economy because of that? That's what traffic is. Traffic is, they're stealing your time, right? They're stealing personal time to be with your family, and they're stealing your time as an employee, and businesses, they have to wait for the employees to get there. So this is tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars a year. I think it's time that we stop accepting the excuses of the county when it comes to, oh, we'll get there eventually. There has to be something we can do. Perhaps beef up our interlocal agreement. Perhaps litigation. Something has to happen where we're in control and we have access to fixing. When there's an issue, that problem gets fixed quickly. Because right now, residents are suffering because they're taking forever to fix the issues. I mean, how hard could it be to if the problem continues to happen, how hard could it be to fix it when they know what's going to happen? It's the same issue all the time. There has to be a way that we can do something to demand more from them, more customer service from them. Because to be frank, what the mayor said is correct. The county, for many, many, many years, has, due to their processes, I don't know what's going on, but it affects us. So we as a body have to be tougher with the county and demand better customer service from them. Be it, I don't know, we go through legal ways, I have no idea, but we're suffering because of that. I think it's unacceptable that something that was approved in 2019 is still not implemented. In what world is that okay? So I think we're all frustrated, right? We all understand it. But again, the residents are coming to us for leadership. Yes. Is it our fault? 100% no. But is it our responsibility? Yes. So I take personal responsibility. I'm sure all of us up here for these delays, and we're going to do what we can to fix it. But again, we got to be tougher with the county. Enough is enough with that. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Hey, I'm gonna, any other colleagues that want to opine at this time? Councilman Hersberg, Councilman Cuadra Garcia? No, Councilman Sanchez? Go ahead, Councilman Sanchez.
For potential projects, so last year, one of my agenda items was a letter of support for the creation of on-ramps onto I-75 at the 170th Street Bridge. That letter of support was sent to Rene Garcia, to Senator Garcia. What do you, is there anything else we can do as a town, as the elected officials to see that progress? Anything that you think we've missed?
Omar, explain where they are in the process.
Because
They're in the process of the very first step in that whole process, which is called the PD&E process.
Right.
And Omar can explain exactly where they are, because we've had several of the vendors that are bidding to do that PD&E study come and talk to us and get our input, which I'm
But this
thankful.
is for the on-ramps. I say that specifically because I went to the FDOT town hall that they had last year, and I bumped into your associate, and they have a project to create perimeter roads at 170th Street, but nothing on the scope of ramps specifically. And they even told me they'd have to take it all the way to the federal level because it's an interstate.
So the manager pretty much, you mentioned, but yes, the Florida Department of Transportation released a PD&E to study the corridor of 75. I think it starts at the Gratney and it ends just north, a county line, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Two of those proposers that are going for that PD&E requested to meet with the town and to hear our input. So the manager was in the meeting, and one of the items that we did mention was that connectivity at 170th to alleviate traffic essentially.
Onto I-75.
Yes, so we understand that some of those proposers will take that serious into their, as a recommendation. But again, they're in their early stages. These proposers will send in their letter of intent or interest, and from there they'll get shortlisted. Once that shortlist is created, it's when the real work will start from them. So it'll be a few more months before we find out who was selected for that PD&E and what ideas. And again, this is just early planning. After the PD&E is completed, whatever the Department of Transportation approves, that will be put on
Their
the
5-year
next
plan.
plan for funding for design.
Right.
Once design is complete, it's funding for construction. So it's
Yeah,
still several years
it's like
out.
a three-step process. The first thing is the PD&E, then eventually there'll be a design who actually does construction documents and
Just for
plans
the
and everything
benefit-
else, and then the actual construction.
For the benefit of the residents and a certain vice mayor.
What
is-
PD&E
What is
then?
PD&E?
Project
design
development and environmental.
Yeah.
Project development, not design yet.
So it's the very early stage. There you go.
So this will be
But
part of the
it
5-year
goes-
plan.
But back to your question,
Yeah.
they're looking at whether direct slip lamps, because they have protocols that on-ramps and off-ramps cannot be X number of feet, too close to each other.
Right.
So one of the things that they're looking at is accomplishing the same thing, but in a different way, is by a perimeter road, similar to how they do on 595, how they have double exits, and then you have like an over ramp that takes you to the next, something to that effect.
Right.
Right, so they're looking at that as possibilities, but right now, the engineering companies that put in a 2-page letter of intent to FDOT saying, we're interested, they have to come up and in 2 pages, give them enough information that then they get shortlisted to do this PD&E study. So it's a slow, methodical process, but eventually it's going. So it is underway.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
And I just want to add additional context to that as well. The TPO about 2 years ago went ahead and included a funding request through their lobbyists at the federal level to study having some kind of highway activity on the west side of town. And Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart was able to get that included as well as part of his list of what they call community funding projects. And right now, though, of course, with everything going on in Washington, D.C., there's a lot of uncertainty over the budget. So we'll see if it makes it into the final budget. We also have $1 million, I just want to note, for drainage improvements in there as well that the congressman has put in for us. But right now we're waiting to see how the entire federal budget process plays out. And hopefully we'll get our money and we'll see what happens with the TPO getting their money to continue with their studies on that highway connectivity. At this time, I'm going to turn it over now to the lieutenant, the mayor designate, or major designate, not mayor, to go ahead and talk to us about what our sheriff's department has been doing with morning traffic, manning the various lights to make life easier, and then also what you guys have been doing with respect to light synchronization and some of the challenges that we've had there. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. This is my name is Eddie Ulloa, the lieutenant for the town. Currently, we've been in direct contact with the county's traffic maintenance. We have a direct pipeline directly to the actual traffic maintenance engineer that's over our area. Recently, I know that we've had some issues with the lights and stuff like that on 154. That became a software issue that they needed to correct on their side, which kind of delayed us a little bit in reference to getting the timing corrected, in a timely fashion. Ultimately, we already have it, kind of like optimized to try to mitigate as best we can in reference to the flow of traffic that's coming into the town. I know a lot of that it's kind of like, a lot of the issues that we have obviously is like what traffic is impacted on the Palmetto. Anything on the outskirts of the town obviously forces traffic into the town itself, because obviously we're a pipeline into the Palmetto southbound and northbound, which creates traffic as well on 154, considering the fact that it's our only east and west pipeline for the most part in the middle of the town. So ultimately, we do have a direct line of communication with the county. Additionally, we're in always contact, obviously, with Public Works as well, because technically, like the traffic lights, synchronization, any traffic control devices and all that, those are directed through Omar Santos in reference to getting those processes in place. Unlike other areas for the county, we pretty much have a direct pipeline to the traffic maintenance, where in other districts, like let's say our next door counterparts, Northwest District and stuff like that, they don't deal directly with traffic maintenance because it's a county entity. Additionally, we also have officers that we have placed on 7-7 court in the morning in order for that not to back up onto, like as traffic comes off of the Palmetto, we have an officer there. Obviously, once that turn lane gets filled, we keep traffic flowing to continue westbound so it doesn't back up and clog, obviously, the 154 in the Palmetto. As they also said during the extension of the Palmetto southbound turn lane, which obviously I would foresee that's going to alleviate a lot of our traffic concerns on 154, so it's not blocking that intersection itself right on 154 and the Palmetto itself. In reference to anything else that we've been, like recently, because of the rains and the cold weather, also we've had rodents or lizards or iguanas that have actually come into the control boxes and have fried some of the circuits. So we have to get in contact with them for them to come out and actually physically make those changes, which those flashing lights that we see constantly that every 5 seconds keep on flashing, even though we reset them, it's become an issue where it's actual like hardware that needs to be replaced, and we've been in contact with them. So as soon as the county can come out to replace those parts that are damaged, they've been doing so in a timely manner.
Yeah, I wanted to just touch on something the lieutenant said, which is we're unique in the sense of we have gotten access to the control boxes because the county's traffic signal division is very protective and very territorial about their boxes. They don't allow anybody to go get in there. But our police department, our sheriff's office, has gained access to there. So if there's something, whatever, a lightning strike or something, some flaw that now you have an intersection with the flashing lights, they have the ability to go in there, open it up, and at least give it a try of resetting the lights to see if it'll take back. So that's a big plus because that resolves many, many of the issues, unless it is something like what he said, that there's some permanent defect like a motherboard or some kind of an issue like that. But otherwise, the police officers that we have here in the town have the ability to go in there and at least give it a shot of trying to reset those boxes, and that resolves many, many of the problems.
We're a sheriff's office.
But of course, everybody uses it interchangeably, but we're officially now a sheriff's department.
The town of Miami Lakes has a contract with what used to be the Miami-Dade Police Department. Now, as of January 4th or whatever it was, they became the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office. So now our contract, it is the Miami Lakes Police Department, but it's under contract with the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office. No. The officers that we have assigned, there are officers. It's the same officers. We have 49 or 50 officers. There are officers. They don't go outside the town limits unless there's Yeah, they're in transition in the sense of they're changing out some of the logos on their vehicles. They've gotten some new. We're in the process of doing that, but between the new vehicles that they're getting and the new emblems that they're putting on their vehicles, soon you'll go back to what we had before, which is the regular markings of the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office. But there's going to be a banner that's going to identify all of our vehicles as Town of Miami Lakes. But we're in that process, but it's a double function. One of a function of new vehicles that have come in. The other one is the rebranding that they're going through in that transition between the police department and the sheriff's office.
Before I turn it over to my colleagues, I did want to add also some personal observations. So a while back, shortly after I got elected as mayor, the manager and I stood out there with Major Gonzalez and got a firsthand look of the efforts of our then police department, right? Well, still our police department, but and what the effect was of having the officers at the various intersections were, right? And I'm sure you remember that one time when he radioed in for one of them just to leave, right? For a little bit, and remember that traffic immediately started backing up onto 154 and started to create the sort of traffic logjam that we're trying to avoid. So there were some concerns raised on Facebook that I remember that the officers are just sitting in their car, they're not doing anything, but just having them there at the intersection actually deters people from trying to get creative and trying to be another car there and having the tail end of their vehicle spilling out into 154 and therefore blocking an entire lane of traffic, right? So having them there does have its uses, and we saw it firsthand. It's an effective strategy for the morning. Obviously, if the Palmetto is backed up due to some accident, there's nothing we can do there, right? There's only so many cars we can push through at one time. The other thing I want to point out is that that recently, in addition to the hardware issues that the lieutenant mentioned, I believe it was the light at 154 and 79th that was acting up, even though we had a couple great months of it acting fine and being perfectly timed. We had a software glitch. And again, these things do happen. It's not ideal when it happens, but I think what we've repeatedly shown in terms of the manager's office, the sheriff's department, and ourselves, and the county traffic signals division, is that we're constantly monitoring and trying to address it as quickly as possible when these issues do occur, right? And even after, for example, going back to that software glitch, even though we had addressed it, the problem came back within 2 days and it continued for a little while after, right? So we just ask for your patience in those situations. And this is a perfect example of, even though we own the road, we still have to go through our partners, right, that are mandated by law that we have to go through, and we have to work at their schedule and with their capabilities. With that, I'm going to go to the vice mayor and then to Councilman Garcia, and then turn it over to any other colleagues, and then we'll go to the general public.
Actually, my only comment was I see a lot of people squirming in their seats. They want to talk. So I was just gonna recommend, before we talk about any other projects, let's hear what's important to them, and then we can discuss that up here. I just didn't want to leave them for last, because then it makes it to where we don't really talk about what they bring up.
I think I disagree, and the reason why would be because they're going to hear everything that we've heard. There's nothing else further to present. They've heard that information, but I think it also would behoove them to hear whatever the questions and context we have before we turn it over to them, so we can have a comprehensive and completely informed conversation instead of piecemealing it. So that's the way I look at it. Councilman Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to, again, thank the officers for what they do. They're out there all the time trying to help. I mean, I know that some people say that they're sitting in their cars. Honestly, in the mornings and the afternoons, during school time and after, all they're doing is trying to get that traffic flowing, getting you home, getting you to your jobs, getting your kids to school. So I want to thank you for what for everything you do. I guess the question I have for you, sir, is how often, I know every once in a while that we have that glitch, but what happens to your resources, and what are the processes you have to go through, right, when that happens? I mean, I know you get there and you try to restart it, but that takes you away from your full duty. So every time that happens, how much manpower does that take to get those lights going? And or if you can't fix it at the time, how much manpower does it take to physically have to make sure the lights or traffic is flowing? And how often has that been happening over the last year, that you see a problem with synchronization?
I mean, to be completely honest, it really depends on the intersection, to be quite honest. Like the smaller the intersection, obviously can be dominated with less personnel. Like obviously to do it safely, would be 2 officers at the very least. In recent history with, we had the issue not only on 7-9, on 7-9 Avenue, obviously was the system glitch that then created the chaos where they had to recreate all the timing sequences in that area, which then threw off all the other timing sequences at 7-9 Court, 8-2, 7-7 Court. So they kind of needed to line it all up, and you're talking about increments of seconds, and everything needed to be recreated, stalling one light to make sure that it flows continuously as one opens up to create space for the cars to come in, so it can just be sequential in order. But like, for example, we also had the issue at 82nd Avenue. It happened during the daytime, and then it happened in the afternoon again. That for me took 3 officers, because initially we were trying to reset the light. We would reset the light. It would work for 30 minutes. We would leave, come back. And then eventually we just said, hey, we need traffic maintenance to come out, assess the traffic control box. But in the meantime, while it was flashing, we had no choice. We had to direct traffic. So that ultimately had somebody trying to pickle at the same time while 2 guys were trying to direct traffic. So that impacts me. That's half of my personnel, in reference to operationally. Luckily for us, during the daytime, obviously, since we have NRU and we have our traffic guys, we were able to mitigate that so it didn't impact our operations. But that did also impact us in reference to, now I took my guys off from doing traffic details and doing enforcement and all the other extracurricular stuff that they normally do. They're now stuck at an intersection dealing with that until those issues are corrected by traffic maintenance. But I mean, it happens far and in between, to be quite honest with you. Predominantly, they've been very, very receptive. And then additionally, we also take a very proactive approach. Just alone on the 2 officers that work 7-7 Court, when they get there at 7 o'clock in the mornings, they can already tell in reference to just looking down the corridor of 154 that something is off. So I'm getting text messages, phone calls early in the morning from our guys before anybody from the council or the manager or anybody like that is notified. And I'm reaching out and telling, hey, just be advised, we're having this concern, this issue. Something as simple as even keeping tabs on what's happening on the Palmetto. We do that as well, just to inform you guys that, hey, we're going to experience a backup today. There's going to be, everybody's being taken off on 154 or whatever those issues are. While they're far and in between, they do become cumbersome when they do happen. So, I mean, I can't tell you for sure, like how many people in the last, like how often in the year, but it does happen far and in between. But for the most part, I've noticed that it kind of does occur typically where we've seen issues, and that's already been addressed, is whenever they do any road work on the Palmetto or anything like that overnight, FDOT does go in, obviously changes the synchronization of the lights in order to be able to mitigate their MOT, which then they forget to reset it back to its original setting, which then creates our chaos at 154 in the Palmetto, which obviously backs everything up. And the minute that we call traffic maintenance, they go in, reset the clock, and we're good to go. But in the meantime, obviously those are issues that occur that are obviously out of our span of control, but ultimately they get corrected relatively quickly.
Just real quick, because we want to get to of course, the residents. Mr. Manager, what can we do as far as, I know the director talked about iguanas getting into the boxes. I mean, could it just be a simple as sealing those boxes?
Yeah, I think
What
that
can be done for that part?
Yeah.
And as far as FDOT, what can be done to make sure FDOT keeps, I mean, they keep dropping the ball and then our residents the next day have horrible traffic, right? And they're working on the Palmetto all the time. So I'm sure this happens 4 or 5 times a year at the least, right?
Yeah, the issue that we had that was kind of like a repetitive issue, it happened about 2 months ago, where the synchronization of all those lights just kept happening. And we didn't know how or why or what happened. And it was the count, and it was a lack of communication. And we solved it. The Mayor Dieguez got involved, contacted Mayor Levine Cava. We had a Zoom call. I mean, we got everybody involved. We had the Department of Transportation and Public Works from the county. We had the mayor's office. We had Mayor Dieguez. We had us, Commissioner Garcia. So we had a lot of people on the Zoom call, and it was a complete lack of communication. They were getting reports from directly, so none that were coming through us. And then they were just going out there and changing the synchronization to accommodate one light. But as Director Santos stated, there's so many lights so close to each other in that area. You change the synchronization of just one of those lights, it throws everything else off. And our police department has a history of being intimately involved with those lights, in the sense of knowing what is the exact right synchronization that they need to be maintained. So after we had that, we've had a lot better communication. If and when they even want to consider any kind of changes, they contact us. We go out there, we meet, we talk to them, we negotiate, we talk, and then they don't make any changes without involving our staff, whether it be police or public works. And then it's been 1,000 times better since then.
Thank you.
Any other one of my colleagues before we go to the public? Okay, seeing none. So we're going to have the podium available for those of you that want to come up and ask a question or raise a concern. No, actually, hold on to the mic and just depending on who they want to ask the question to, you guys can pass the mic between yourself and Susanna and Omar. So with that, yeah, just come on up. We're not going to have a time limit like we normally do. Again, this is a town hall. We want to hear from you, and we want it to be a comprehensive discussion. So please just come on up, though, give your name and address, and then please let us know who you're directing the comment to, or if it's us. In the bottom, yeah.
Good evening, Rick Gonzalez, 8611 Dundee Terrace. My question is for the Public Works. Has anything been done for planning because of the traffic that's going to be created by the new buildings going up at the Shula Golf Course?
Well, that's part of what I mentioned of the looking at the entire intersection that we have in early planning. And it's not just for that, it's also to take into account the new developments in Commerce, what's
Right.
there now, what's coming up. So those are the types of scope that we want to incorporate into the work order.
They're only in and out is 154th, right?
That's correct.
For that project?
For the 9, yes.
Actually, my understanding is that they have a second point of egress, right, by the Palmetto.
The side road?
Under the.
Yeah,
perimeter
the
road.
perimeter road, yeah,
They have an egress from the parking lot to the
Yes.
perimeter road.
yeah.
That can make it onto the Palmetto
Yeah.
or go on the perimeter.
But getting in, yes, you would be correct that that is the only way into the project, but exiting, they have two avenues is, or
So
two.
that's already in the works, I guess, the planning, like you said.
It's
for the
the,
whole
what I
area.
mentioned, but again, it's in the early
Because-
planning.
I think it's a whole bunch of apartments there, right?
Yeah.
like 5
But you
or
also
6
got to
of them.
take into consideration before what's going to be constructed, they already had some sort of trip generator in the location. Obviously, over the past few years, we haven't experienced that because they have been under construction. But the trip generator was there before.
Okay, thank you.
By trip generated for those who are
Sorry.
wondering. Yes.
Cars.
That is a business that would generate a lot of car trips to the site.
Good evening. My name is Ludwig Dorfmeyer. I live at 8810 Northwest 154 Terrace. And I have a couple questions regarding 87th because most of what you guys have talked about today is all east. And we have a real issue out there. I don't know if any of you live out that way. One is, who handles the Mater Academy? The traffic on that, I guess it's 172nd.
Yeah,
And
that's
87th.
outside the town limits.
That's
That's
what I
'cause
figured. So
170th is the town boundary, so that's just north of the town. So that's, it would be it's outside of the town limits. So it'd be the unincorporated Miami-Dade County and the Miami-Dade County Police Department, but not our police guys. It's the guys that are at the main police station.
But
as I
also,
mentioned to you before, it's going to be shrugged off.
Well,
Yeah.
well, okay, well,
The other thing is also is.
hold on,
the
one at a
intersection-
time, one at a time.
The
Sir.
intersection of 186.
Sorry,
and
can you speak into the
87th.
Yeah,
mic so we cannot
that-
hear you?
The intersection of 186 and 87th.
Yeah, let me,
Okay, They opened up
One at a
this,
time.
this
Yeah.
overpass. Okay, from the other
Yes,
side of
170th.
75. Yeah, but none of the towns have done anything about the increased traffic. Yeah, so here we are, we have to get up to the only exit or the only entrance onto 75. Okay, and either north or south, doesn't matter which way you're going. And here we are
When
stuck
we
in traffic
litigated-
for half an hour, okay, because somebody in their bright mind decided to leave the middle lane to go straight onto a dead end. I mean, there's nothing down there but housing, okay, but yet there's a dedicated lane and everybody that needs to get onto 75 on 186, it's stuck in traffic for half an hour or more.
let me speak.
One at a
And
time.
it's probably only going to get worse once they open that shopping center or whatever it is that they're building on
shopping
that corner.
We'll go down from the manager over, to Councilman Sanchez, then the vice mayor, then Councilman Garcia. I think I saw also has his hand up. But sir, if you want to wait there, just in case you want to respond to something,
When the Mall of the Americas project was gonna be built, I'm not sure, it's very much in doubt whether that ever gets built or not. Part of that project, the developer of the Mall of the Americas was gonna have to completely redo that intersection and was gonna have 2 left-hand turn lanes to go west towards I-75. Now that project may or may never be built. We have already been working with the Florida Department of Transportation and Miami-Dade County to see about them doing that second left-hand, because there's actually probably enough, what they call right-of-way, enough space there, because you already have 2 lanes in each direction, the turn lane, but you also have space for the bike lanes, right? You have bike lanes on both sides. So
On 186 or on 87?
on 87th Avenue, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, 87th Avenue has bike lanes that are separate from the travel lanes, from the car lanes. So we have been working with them to see if, whether the mall ever gets built or not, if they can move forward with trying to do that. And they are exploring that to try and get We've been working with our county commissioner. We've been working with the district secretary, Dan Iglesias from the Florida Department of Transportation, to try and see if that second left, they may be able to do it without even affecting the lanes that go through, crossing Miami Gardens Drive. There should be enough space there that they can do 2 left-hand turn lanes. And the project that we talked about earlier, the PD&E study for the I-75 on-ramps and off-ramps, that they're exploring also that to incorporate that idea into that entire redesign. So that we're pushing with all the right people to try and get that, even though it's outside of the town of Miami Lakes town limits, but it affects town traffic, obviously.
We've been,
But why do you have to create a whole nother lane when all you have to do is make the center lane turn? You're going from 1 lane to 3.
Yeah.
It's not even 2. You're going from 1 lane to 3. So why can't you just make the center lane, or them, whoever it is, make the center lane whether you make it a going straight and left?
Yeah,
whichever.
they're exploring all the different options
I
of how
mean-
they can make it and do it the simplest way.
look,
But we've engaged with them, and they're looking to see how they can do it.
we've been at this for that intersection since before we started the bridge litigation. I tried to settle the bridge litigation with them by compelling them before they opened up the bridge on 170th to add that extra turn lane, and they wouldn't do it. It's a brick wall for us. I can tell you up here, everybody has been working on something that's not even in the town forever and a day. Talk to your representative, in the county level, at the state level, and help us out.
Yeah, the reality is that the attorney actually did go to the county back when I think it was Tara was applying to the county commission for a bunch of new homes there that they're calling Miami Lakes, by the way, which is incorrect. I just noticed that the other day. But and unfortunately, he was shouted down by the chairman at the time and accused of causing confusion. Miami Lakes is a very proactive community, whether it's on blasting, on traffic. We have probably been many times the only community that has actually tried to get people to stop and consider their decisions. But ultimately, we're a smaller community and we're one community out of many others. So, and we have to work within the bounds of what we have, right? But we have been proactive. And again, I still remember watching that meeting. I think it was Chair Diaz at the time.
Yeah, of course.
That accused him of creating confusion. So, but I'm gonna continue down the order that I previously set. Feel free again to interject if you have a further follow-up.
Sorry,
but
just
Councilman
one more
Sanchez.
question.
Sure.
About 170th,
Sure.
I guess it is, that intersection. You say that the police powers for the Miami Lakes goes up to that point.
Up to 170.
Okay, so who is in charge of the people blocking that intersection? Okay?
It
Because
depends on
now,
what side of the
now
road
you're
it is.
talking about people coming from Miami Lakes area or from the east.
Uh-huh.
And obviously, but it's more from the east because it's the people trying to get their kids from that school, and they're blocking the intersection.
You're talking about 87th Avenue and 170th?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And I've spoken to 3 different officers of the ones that are in front of the school, the ones that are running the traffic in front of the school. And the first one I spoke to said, yeah, we give them tickets. They complain to our bosses and the tickets are taken away and we get reprimanded. The other 2 told me that they were told not to give them tickets, not to do anything about it.
Well, Lieutenant, speak with him, get a good idea exactly where he's talking about, see how because obviously them being part of the sheriff's office, even though they're our police department, they have connections with, in fact, Lieutenant Ulloa, before he came here, he was assigned to the Northwest District. So speak to him, tell him so he could understand exactly where it is and the difficulty and the challenge that you're identifying. And then he'll work with the Northwest District at a higher level, not at the police officer level, but at a high level to see exactly what's going on and see what we can do to work with them to try and resolve that.
Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you.
So I want to touch on 2 points of something that you brought up. On October 9th of last year, FDOT had a workshop, a community workshop like this, where the residents could come and see what was happening in the entire South Florida region, from Miami-Dade County, from the border of Miami-Dade to Broward, all the way down to Key West. A lot of projects were brought up. One of the ones, I'm going to touch on 2 different points that you brought up, is 186th Street. 186th Street in the 5-year plan is going to be widened to a 6-lane road. 3 on each side. So that median that's there is going to disappear. But part of that project was creating a second turn lane going northbound on 87th Avenue onto 186 to make a left to get onto I-75. During that meeting, I spoke during the public comments, and I mentioned to speak with the project manager for that project to see if that one aspect of the making the left turn lane to make the exit feasible could be pulled out and done more expeditiously. 4 days later, on the 13th of October, I got an email from that project manager saying that they were doing just that. The PD&E study is supposed to be completed by the end of this month, because I brought up that exact point, that the middle lane goes straight through to a dead end that has houses. And really the heavy traffic is trying to make a left to get onto I-75 legally. Cars already do it illegally. We just want to give it a legal way because it's going to alleviate traffic. Even though it's not a Miami Lakes situation, it's something that I brought up. I have the email. I'll be more than happy to forward it to you that shows everything that they're going to be doing at the request that I made to them. So that is coming. The PD&E study will be done by the end of the month. And hopefully it will show that the left lane, creating that second left lane, is beneficial, and we don't have to wait for them to do the entire construction project. I can do that now. Secondly, earlier in this meeting, I brought up the 170th Street Bridge. I came into office, and next week on Wednesday, it'll be a year that I've been in office. And one of the big things that I've been tackling is traffic. Bob Graham traffic and just traffic all-encompassing with the bridge on 170th. I mentioned earlier that I created a letter in support to Commissioner Rene Garcia to open up on-ramps, only on-ramps to get onto I-75. So no exit off 75 into Miami Lakes or the adjacent neighborhood in Hialeah. But that'll open it up. So instead of residents in Hialeah crossing the bridge to come into Miami Lakes to get to Palmetto, they would be able to access the same thing in your neighborhood. You would be able to access I-75 South, I-75 North, the Turnpike, the Gratney, and the Palmetto North and Southbound just by creating those ramps. So it's wheels in motion. But just to do that one project, it takes Miami Lakes, Hialeah, the county, FDOT, and federal, because we're going into an interstate, which the state of Florida has no control over. That's at a federal level. So we need their permission from every single layer of government needs to be involved in that. But it is a work in action, and it's a PD&E that we brought up earlier that they're looking for the contractor now to do a PD&E study. So it is in motion. But as everything in government, it takes one step at a time, one partnership at a time, until we cross that proverbial bridge and get our goal across the line. But the left turn lane, the study is about to end. It started in November and it's about to end now. So.
Vice Mayor Morera.
I hope to see it one day.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
So one of the things I always told people when I was campaigning and knocking door to door is, when you vote for somebody in this position, yes, you're voting for a lawmaker, but you're also voting for an advocate, someone who's going to go to bat for you. And nowhere is it more clear than in appropriations, definitely, but also in traffic and dealing with our partners, whether it be the city of Hialeah, the county, the state, the federal government, et cetera. Look, he undertook those efforts on his own accord, on his own time. Myself, I had an item that came before the council, was approved unanimously, worked with the mayor since he's the head of intergovernmental relations, on getting a letter sent to our county saying, please, for the love of God, do exactly what you were talking about for the turn lane. Get rid of that median so that you can extend that turn lane and turn that go straight lane, lane number 2, into a turn left or go straight lane. We sent that letter. We're always advocating, whether it be through that avenue, through this avenue, through the staff, we're always advocating. The 170th bridge that actually you brought up, whose idea was it to open up this bridge, but then none of the towns have done anything? I'm not gonna lie to you, that's almost an anomaly. That was a few very large personalities got together and had a very, in my opinion, I'm not speaking on behalf of the town right now, this is just me speaking, because as many might know, this is literally the issue that got me into the town stage. I ran the petition to keep that bridge closed. And that's what got me involved in town politics. I'm very passionate about that bridge issue. My personal perspective is, cool, you forced it on us. Now we're going to force on you, as Councilman Sanchez proposed. Let's get some ramps on it so that we can have outflow. Just a little while ago, I went up to our town planner, Ms. Susanna, And I was actually asking her a couple questions about the interchange of 170th and the Turnpike. So if you actually keep driving, if you keep going west, after you cross the bridge, after you cross I-75, you'll eventually hit the Turnpike, where they are currently building on and off ramps, north and south. I've been a big proponent of that project, and I'm always asking for updates on it. And I constantly get the automated updates on that project, because I remember I went and signed up for them, because once you combine several projects together, so you have 170th and Turnpike, unfortunately, there is no option to go south on I-75 if you go to it via the Turnpike. That's where Councilman Sanchez's on ramps at 170th come into play. If you're trying to go south, get on those ramps as opposed to going through the Turnpike. Then on the other side of town, and I know that this is a contentious one, you have 67th and the Grantley, right? Right now, all of our traffic is centered in one location, Palmetto and 154th, right? Everything is trying to go to everyone is trying to go to the same place. Whether you're from the west side, east side, any side, you're going there. The more you decentralize the traffic, the more you unclog it. Just the other day, we had a great conversation at that GMX workshop about the Grattaney exit and how scary it is for some of the residents who live very close to that. And that, hey, man, we already get a lot of noise. Now you're going to actually bring it even closer to us. And I said, you know what? I had not even thought of that. And I live pretty close to that area, but not as close as some of the residents who I was talking to were. And right away, I started talking to the people at GMX. How can we, because the design that they had the ramp going like kind of a cool little design, but it was going away from the main body of the Grattaney, maybe more than it needed to. And so I was like, hey, can we have it hug the main Grattaney Expressway a little bit more? Can we create a little bit of a tighter curve, make it a right turn only? That way there's no street light, because at the end of the day, that's all we're here to do, is advocate on things that we have no real power on. We do still have soft power, the power of influence, the power of our voice. Once you see the opening of 170th and the Turnpike, as well as the Granny, but specifically the 170th and Turnpike, I think you're going to start seeing a reversal of traffic flow. Right now, everything is flowing, west to east. Did I get that right? Yeah, west to east from the Hialeah side into the Miami Lakes side. Then they make a right at 87th Avenue and a left at 154th. And where are they hopping? On the Palmetto. I think if you get those ramps open, those people who are on the other side of I-75, they're not crossing the 170th bridge anymore. They're just hopping onto the Turnpike and going south. As opposed to Miami Lakes residents are actually, instead of going to the Palmetto 154th, if they work at FIU, work in Doral, work anywhere south, they're actually going to take the 170th bridge the opposite way and declutter 154th and the Palmetto. And I think that's the ultimate goal. So hope that answers some of it.
That brings up another
Sure.
quick thing. Is there when they opened that bridge for 170th, was there any restriction on the type of vehicles that can traverse there? Because I've seen an increase in 18-wheelers coming up from 186 to on 87th and turning onto 170th to go over to the warehouse area. Obviously, somebody figured out that it's quicker than 138th. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Waze did that for them.
Well, again, I don't see that many,
We
but I
litigated that
do
issue.
see the
That was
18
one of the
wheelers
issues
doing
we
it.
litigated. They claimed that they had engineers inspect the bridge and that these heavier vehicles could go over the bridge. That is an FDOT bridge. It's although they may have conveyed it to the county at one point, but they claim that those vehicles can handle the bridge can handle those vehicles.
But
I
regardless
mean,
of what it can
we've already seen deterioration of the roads in the little time that it's been open, and you can see potholes on
That's our
87th.
But regardless of what the road can handle, my recollection, what I've been told is that the rule is no semi trucks on
Yeah.
that bridge.
I think we defined it as in trucks over a certain weight.
Yeah.
you know, and we looked, and in essence, it comes out to semi trucks, no semi trucks, because we looked it up as far as, I forgot where we pulled the definition from, but I remember we defined it based on some statutory definition, or some other.
We went back
standard.
and forth on that quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I recall, but yeah,
Yeah,
there
because again-
technically should not be any. But again, as the lieutenant mentioned earlier, we have limited resources and we can't be everywhere all at once. In theory, the Hialeah should be policing their side. You know, the county should be policing another piece because they're part of this agreement. That was one of the big breakthroughs in the agreement over the bridge wars, right? Was having the county now be a party and bound to the terms therein. So it's just everybody needs to do their part, is the short way of answering that.
Well, it's more to my point that what we were discussing about Mater Academy, and you've got cops there,
Yeah.
okay, stationed there, and the semis are just going right by them.
Are
So
those
to
county
go in-
officers or are those the school resource officers that
They're in the middle of the road.
okay,
They're traffic guys.
Just to kind of give you a little bit of clarity on that. So the officers that are assigned there on 87th Avenue, they're assigned technically to work the traffic for the school itself. So they're assigned and paid for by the school, by Matter. So they're off duties. They're not going down to 170th or whatever, right? So that's the issue that you're going to encounter when speaking to them. Kind of touching bases on the trucks on 170th. When I was next door, that was part of my my project with Senator Rene Garcia's office. The main issue that we encountered there was it's technically no through trucks, not no trucks, and there is a definitive difference between the two. So if the trucks do have business for construction or anything to and from, they use the 170th Street Bridge. There is a misconception that the bridge is supposed to be no trucks, period, and I guess that's where the signage has come to a front in reference to the difference between no through trucks and no trucks. So a prime example, when those buildings were being built, trucks with, wood or construction equipment or whatever needed to go over 170th to and from in order to deliver materials. And then because of the way that it's situated there, the trucks can't make a specific turn, so they had to kind of come over the bridge. No different than you have the Home Depot just down the street on 138. Then those trucks would come through there, do the drop-offs, do the construction stuff, and then kind of come back over 170th. So that was discussed with Rene Garcia's office several years ago, to be honest with you. I think I would have to say maybe 5 years ago. So there hasn't been any change. I am in direct contact with the commander on the Hialeah side, who's a very good friend of mine as well. So we're constantly kind of dealing with that back and forth between us. So we're in direct contact with that as well. And then, they're doing what they're doing on their end on 97th Avenue is they're trying to restrict trucks from going northbound on 97th Avenue to reach 170th. But just like you said, like resources or like everything else, it's like you're not going to have a designated officer there 24 hours a day to mitigate that. So it's pretty much whenever those officers are there, to be able to mitigate that and obviously give citations, et cetera. But there is a difference between no trucks and no through trucks there that we were addressing.
Well, that's interesting. I definitely would love to review that again. I did want to read into the record, though. There is a member of Senator Commissioner Rene Garcia's staff that's watching the meeting and wanted me to provide some additional context, stating that there is an FDOT project to add another turn lane on 87th Avenue, that it's part of the project to expand Northwest 186th Street. And then the other comment here is that the police do set up random ticket traps, I guess on the county side, to catch those that are semi-trucks that are not permitted to be on crossing over the bridge. So those were the two comments I got from there. And I wanted to go to Councilman Garcia that I believe earlier had his hand up and wanted to address something that you had brought up.
Well, I think that the vice mayor and Councilman Sanchez addressed the low-hanging fruit, which is that extra left turn, which is common sense, right? It's been something that we've been thinking, why it affects us as well. So as you can see, we are working on it. And I apologize for it's taken so long. But again, we're trying to do everything we can. Rene Garcia's office trying to do everything we can. But I understand your frustration. But again, those things have been set in motion because it affects us and it affects you as well. So, and I apologize for that, but we need to be a little more specific on the trucks and maybe help that out because the whole That whole other side of the Palmetto, you have a huge commercial area. There's construction there constantly. So trucks are going to be in and out for years to
Yeah,
come.
but I'm not talking construction trucks. I'm talking semis with containers on.
Well,
the
then
back,
that
which-
needs,
which
yes.
Come up 87th and they
Yep.
make a right onto
I think
70th to go across.
I think we could do better when it comes to
Yeah.
enforcing that, and we're going to work on that for you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All righty. So next resident, please come up.
Hi, good evening. Susan Camp, 6908 Willow Lane. A couple things, mostly unfortunately to the police.
I'm sorry, ma'am, can you speak, yeah, it's just because we also are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Is that
because we're
better?
broadcasting live and then we also want to record this to put out to residents. So we want them to hear everything that's going on.
Okay. Do you want me to start over? Okay.
I think we got the address, but
Okay, thank you. I want to start with the off-ramps. I don't know if this is the city or if this is the county or FDOT off of the Palmetto. When people come off the Palmetto, there's yield.
154 or 67?
154.
Okay.
They're yield signs and they fly through, and I know every one of you has seen this. They don't have stop signs. And there's been multiple accidents there, mostly southbound, coming off from going north and getting off at the 154th. I've seen multiple accidents there. My daughter's had a couple herself. Is there any way stop signs can be put there and not yield signs? That's the problem, is they're not stop, they're just coming right through. And is this a public works issue and not a, yeah.
Yes and no. So
Okay.
that is something that we can definitely bring up. I would have to check. I think that ramp is controlled by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
That would be something I could bring up to them and the county as well to see if they're willing, if they can consider that change.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, I see it every day, people, and it's
And we-
shocking that people don't slow down. They just fly right off the Palmetto.
Yeah, and what we'll do, we'll check with police to see if we
Thank
can
you.
get crash data. And by the way, nice to see you in person. It's the first
Yeah,
time.
thank you. Thank you for all your help. I appreciate it. The other thing is, I live on Willow Lane, which is very close to the K through 8 school, which is Miami Lakeway South. We have major traffic issues over there, speeding. It's not just the school traffic, but Lakeway South has become a speed lane, mostly at night and in the afternoon. My house butts the backyard is on Lakeway South, so I hear this traffic constantly. And at night, you would think it was a raceway back there. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And I know the police you've done some speed traps up on Lakeway South closer to Miami Lakes Drive. In fact, there was one today. There was one today. But it's the nighttime and the afternoons when the kids get out of school. And it's like, and it echoes, and it's just gotten really bad. In fact, a neighbor of mine moved about 10 years ago because of it. So if that can be looked at, we need some we need calming devices. I know, you started the meeting talking about that. I know it's expensive. I know it's an issue with residents. They don't want to put the circles and the traffic calming devices. But can that be looked at? Because it is a real concern. I mean, ducks get hit all the time. We've got kids going to school. Yes.
So part of our Vision Zero project that we've been doing this entire year is things like that. So
Good.
I'm having my consultant right now take down the notes that you're putting forth. We have heard these comments from other people, particularly at Miami Lakeway South. And part of the recommendations of this report, which we will be very happy to forward to every other agency that has authority over our roads and we will be again relentlessly repeat until they begin to include it into their projects, will be traffic calming in very particular spaces such as Miami Lakeway South. So just so you know, yes, it's been noticed.
Good.
It is already taken down. It's probably already part of the recommendations. We're definitely adding your comment as part of the furthering of the recommendations. But yes, it's something that we're looking at holistically, right, for the entire town, not just for Miami Lakeway South.
Okay, great, thanks. And then my last question is regarding speed bumps. My street, because people come off Lakeway South, they use Mahogany in my street to cut through to go to 154th. So it's become a bit of a pass-through, a raceway, and it's gotten really out of control. So Palmetto Palm they put speed bumps up recently. And I wanted to know what is the process? Can we get some speed bumps? My neighbors are interested. I'd be willing to do the legwork to get petitions signed if that's what we need to do.
Yeah, so absolutely. I'll encourage
The
the
process-
Director of Public Works to,
Okay.
Is what you just said. You made your request, so I'm taking the note.
Okay,
We'll go ahead and put you on our list to do essentially as a traffic count and speed analysis. Once we get that data back, we'll run it through the criteria that our deputy attorney mentioned that was adopted as an interlocal agreement with the county. If it passes that, then we'll go into the ballot process. We need I think it's 2/3 of the residents that will on the road
on that street.
to approve of it. And I will tell you, we've had roads where we have met the criteria, but we had an overwhelming number of residents that did not want, so we did not move forward with that. But we'll go ahead through the process and we'll keep you up to date as the requester. I think I have your contact, but I'll pass by after this to make sure.
Okay.
Which was the one that the residents didn't want?
And Glen, well, the ones I can remember off the bat is Glencare
Glencare?
Lane or Terrace back there. That's one of them, and I think the 147.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I may on that point, would it make sense to make sure we have the 2/3 support before we spend time on a study? Like, go backwards, right? I'm not saying that the 2/3 would be binding because you got to
No,
get
you're
the
saying
study
start
first.
with the residents, right?
I mean,
No, we typically start with the study. It's always good to have the data because that way we
That's just-
present that to the
That-
residents.
that just doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Right? You should go down your block, make sure you have the amount that says yes.
I'll get
It won't
with
be
everybody.
binding,
That would be the Palmetto Palm approach.
right?
Yeah, right.
But any other way doesn't make sense. That should be the only way we do it because then we're just wasting other people that want to get it's time. So let's look into that. But
Did you say the county has to approve it?
yes. And that was the point I was trying to make earlier
Well-
at the start of this, which is, well, hold on. But the point I was trying to make is that it's not that they have to necessarily approve it per se, but we have to meet some of the standards that they have set for us. Is that the better way to put it?
So the interlocal agreement gave us the authority to do the process ourselves as long as we follow the procedures established in the criteria that was adopted.
But the
And
point is
part-
that, yes, exactly. So we're doing the work, which in theory should make it faster, right? But we're applying their standards or the standards that they are telling us we need to use.
that is correct.
That, yes.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And,
Thank
and that's kind of the whole, issue with any kind of traffic related thing that we do. There's always some other intergovernmental partner that we have to
Right.
deal with.
Yeah, there's multiple what they call traffic calming devices.
Right.
One is a three-way stop,
We-
speed humps,
Yeah.
traffic circles. There's a lot of different. The only one that they've given us the ability to do, as long as we meet their criteria, are the speed humps. Anything else, like for instance, not far from where I live, recently a neighbor of mine, unbeknownst to me, down the block, asked for something, and then instead of approving a speed hump, the county put in a three-way stop.
Right.
And it's been super effective. So if the speed hump doesn't meet with approval from your neighbors, we could also forward it to the county for consideration. I don't know exactly where, I know Willow Lane is kind of like an L.
It is. So there really wouldn't
Yeah.
be a place to put a
So
three.
we'd have to look at it and see exactly where you're talking about, and Omar can maybe even forward to the county for consideration of a three-way stop in lieu of a speed hump. Sometimes a speed hump has bad, vibes, and people don't want the speed humps and the sound and everything, but the three-way stop, at least close to where I live, has been super effective.
Well, we do have a three-way stop on Mahogany and Maple that was put up years ago. And it was great for a while. Not
Yeah,
anymore.
with a lot of these things,
They just fly through it, and that's part of it. And there's just no regard for people. It's just, I could go on for days.
no, I hear you. I
Very
hear it.
frustrated.
No.
Yeah, anything we can do would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Martha, yeah, coming up. Omar, I saw your hand up too. Again, just come on up as one resident finishes.
Good evening. My name is Martha Gonzalez, 8611 Dundee Terrace. Okay, I know this has been touched before, emphasizing
I'm sorry.
The
I'm sorry. There we go. We were just letting them exit chambers so they can have their conversation. All right, go ahead.
emphasizing synchronizing of the lights. The other day, I went to Hialeah on my way back. I came on Palmetto on 84th. I swear I was 20 minutes before I could get out to 154th. Also, we're talking, and I know I'm thinking ahead, but do you remember when they opened 170th? They said 5 years to open 154th, and it was on 22 that they opened 170th. We're in 26, so next year, something we can
Yes.
think about.
Well, it's 10 years plus a variety of other conditions that have to be met. One of those conditions, again, first is the clock of 10 years. Additionally, they have to connect 97th Avenue all the way to 186, and they have to extend 170th all the way down to the Turnpike. Until those two projects are completed, they cannot even have the discussion on that. I agree with you that we need to be mindful of the time, right? And of the time of those projects being completed, since those are conditions, right? And I'm with you, and that's why I think you've seen a lot of emphasis from myself and my colleagues to try to address as many of these traffic issues as quickly as possible to get them in the pipeline, so that by the time that they're being completed, it'll coincide with whatever happens there. But I also do want to note that, and this kind of ties in with that, right? But in the agreement, I was very clear in working with, with the attorneys back then, in making sure that any ramps related to 154th Street, that bridge, could only be on-ramps. That was specifically included in the agreement between Hialeah, Miami Lakes, and the county. So, I still share your concerns on traffic, but I would just want to emphasize for the residents watching this that it wouldn't be a full interchange there per what's written into the contract.
Okay.
Now, the other thing too that is more of a general comment that hasn't been brought up is another big driver of traffic that we can't overlook isn't even just the usual suspects of development, but rather our schools. In some ways, we've been a victim of our success in that regard, right? You have a variety of schools that have converted to magnet schools that don't have the traditional district boundaries. A lot of parents are no longer using the bus system the way they used to. And they're, ever since COVID, they're insisting on picking up their own children. So that is a change of behavior that I guess would have been hard to have anticipated many years ago, or a couple years ago. And that's something else that I look forward to working with our school board commissioner, or board member, Robert Alonso, on trying to address and seeing what else we can do. But that has been another driver of traffic. And that would be my concern in terms of opening up 154th Street, is making sure that we work on a comprehensive level with our school board member to try to stem some of that traffic from coming over here to get to our schools, to try to see if we can't, have some kind of plan in place to deal with that.
Yeah.
Do you have any additional questions?
If they open 154th, I'm getting a helicopter to get out of Lake Glen Ellen.
Got it.
There is no way we can get out as it is right now.
Yeah.
So we're having a lot of problems getting out of there. We have doctor's appointments, we have different things. And we're having, Lake Glen Ellen, we only have one way out.
Yeah. No,
So-
absolutely. My sister lives in that area, so I totally
Yeah.
understand.
So it's very hard. And I was thinking about 154. I thought it was 5 years.
No, it's 10.
10?
Yeah.
Let's keep
It's
it
10
fingers.
years, and then there's that whole procedure involving representatives of the county and Hialeah, Miami Lakes. But that process will be told, to use a legal term, in other words, paused until all those other improvements are completed first. So, that was the other quirk in there that we worked in.
Okay, thank you very much and have a nice evening.
Thank you. Omar, do you want to come up?
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm actually here on behalf of about 16 people that keep asking me the same question the past few days. I'm at 91, 84, and 147 Terrace. They are concerned, or not concerned, they're wondering if we have foreseen how the game is gonna affect Miami Lakes when it comes to traffic, the national championship.
FIFA? Or which
the-
game? Which game are we talking?
yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
UM.
Got it. Yeah.
I guess.
This seems like a planted question.
Right, no. Because they keep asking me, I don't have an answer. I'm like, I promise you guys I will come and ask the question if there's any foreseen of traffic or congestion, people to the
Well-
bars, to the,
The vice mayor is chomping at the bit to answer this, and so is our UM soon-to-be
Support.
graduate,
Yeah.
Councilman Sanchez. So I'll let them answer, and then we'll go over to, no, we're keeping you out of it.
My-
You know, and then we'll go over to the lieutenant to
My
give.
response as far as
yeah.
traffic solutions goes is support your local Miami Lakes business, stay in Miami Lakes.
Absolutely.
Go to the Miami Lakes, steakhouse, or
Ale
or the
house,
Miami Lakes
ale
Ale
house.
House, or Chella's. Go support your local businesses, stay local, and then you won't have to worry about traffic.
I like that. I love that idea.
Yeah, Councilman Sanchez.
If I can, there's two factors that I want to be considered. Number one is not a school day, so traffic on that day is already going to be at a lower level. And number two, has a Super Bowl that happens here often ever affected the traffic in Miami Lakes? I don't believe it has, because we're close enough, but yet we're still far enough away that not even the Super Bowl has affected us. And that was back when the stadium had a lot more occupancy for
Right,
fans.
I guess, I guess
Well-
being almost like a local game, being such a Miami game,
Yeah.
and we're having so many hotels. And again, this question is in behalf of others.
No,
that-
no, I get it. But I do also want to point out that our hotel capacity has actually gone down ever since we got rid of the Indigo, right? So if anything, I would just remind them of that we actually have less hotels now than we did, you know, at any other point in our town's history. So the odds of that being a major factor are relatively low. And at least in other years when we've had this, at least I haven't noticed any particular increase.
Through the chair.
Councilman Garcia, and then we'll go to the lieutenant.
Let's see.
Yeah, so the Miami Lakes Hotel is going to be booked. Main Street's going to be rocking every time there's a event. So, but they usually get there on buses and ride shares. You know, so I haven't seen traffic in that area. Although, you know, the foot traffic in Main Street is going to increase a lot. It's
Yeah.
very successful during that time.
I-
But I haven't seen any traffic.
And I agree and I concur with the idea of Vice Major, that we want the business to come. We want the Ale House to be packed. We want Corner 67. We want all the businesses, of course. But again, they were concerned about the not just the traffic, but also the foot traffic and everyone coming into town and how we're gonna deal with security and so forth.
I was gonna actually ask if the lieutenant wanted to chime in on whether for something as big as the national championship, whether there are any plans. I know, you know, when we have certain holidays where we think that there's any sort of threat level, you guys increase your presence. I don't know if the national championship is one of those events.
So to answer your question in reference to us, our Homeland Security obviously does their assessments. And as of yet, our liaison hasn't mentioned anything in reference to any concerns in reference to the town. As it pertains to the actual game, he alluded to it, besides the fact that it's a holiday, it's, you know, pretty much a dormant city during that time. But additionally, you know, there's also a lot of other events going on in Miami-Dade County that day that will mitigate a lot of the traffic regardless for that day. And nothing is bigger here than Super Bowl. We have every, you know, predominantly often. And then FIFA, inclusive FIFA is a lot bigger than that. And we don't get affected in that sense. So as it pertains to not only it being a holiday, but we are somewhat removed from the chaos of what that brings. And there are MOTs in place and, you know, multiple agencies that are involved with traffic mitigation. So it shouldn't affect us at all.
So, thank you. Thank you all for the answer.
No, of course.
Second question.
Sure.
I live on 147 Terrace and 91st, corner of 92nd. I'm at the corner house. I've been there for close to 7 years. On 92nd Avenue, that's the street that is adjacent to the I-75 wall. In the morning, sometimes I feel like I'm in a F1 race track. I see them coming down the street, flying down, trying to avoid the traffic, getting back to school. Luckily, the years that I've been there, there's never been an accident. A lot of braking, because once you get past 147 Terrace, you have a turn. So luckily, nothing ever happened. But I'm wondering if the speed bumps or anything will be something to consider from 153rd all the way down to 144, which is the strip on on that.
92nd is the one that connects to the roundabout in front of Satori, right?
No, it's right along the sound barrier wall up against the 75.
So further west.
Yeah, it's
Can I-
it's the most western avenue
I
in
know
the
a picture,
town.
If I could. No,
Eh,
you guys-
well, what I would tell you though is just that, again, as you heard from the Director of Public Works, I don't know where he went now, but, or that's, he might be outside, but it's a resident-driven process in a way. Well, we can ask for it as well, but we need to know whether your neighbors or the neighbors in that area are in favor. And
Absolutely.
Councilman Herzberg mentioned before the town starts to expend a whole lot of time and effort on that, maybe those residents or your, either if this is your request or whatever other neighbors, that are making the request,
No,
I would say try to do the exploratory legwork first and then,
I agree with that. I mean, it is my request. I have two daughters. I mean, and 6 and 5, and luckily I have a fence. But for those that don't have a fence, it's a little scary at times.
And you find it to be related to school, like in the morning when they're trying to rush
Yeah,
to
I
get
s-
there or leaving?
No, correct. I see it more during 7 a.m. give and take. I mean, I guess people are trying to get there and try to avoid the traffic on the main street, and kind of come around, and then they still have to make the stop, right? Sometimes at night, and sometimes I do see it after hours. Some Omar's not here, but some lighting would be appreciated too in that strip. There's no light. There's only a few lights from I-75 that.
yeah, and I know lighting is a big issue there. And during the campaign, I heard a lot of that too, that there were, some residents that were concerned that there was some kind of activity going on at night in certain parks and certain parts of that area there. I know the manager and I, when we do our ride-alongs, we've caught a lot of trash up against the sound wall there, which tells me that there's a lot of people maybe going
Yeah.
behind the trees.
Yes.
So yeah, that is something to look at. Of course, the big issue is just it's not even about whether we want to do it, it's about the cost, right? And trying to get the money for that.
There is a section that most of the section is clean, but there are a couple of sections that do have the palm trees. So they do cover the I-75, and that's where you find dead chickens, or you find shopping supermarket carts, you find sofas, you find all kinds of things. I try sometimes to look at the camera, but the angle is just not there.
Yeah, and it is something that we're thinking about actively. And again, I know it has been a concern for a lot of, not just you, but for a lot of other residents there as well. But we're working on it. I can tell you that.
And I know you're right. Again, my drive every morning, I see the officers at 77 Court and 79 and everything else. And I thank you for their service. It does help a lot. Believe it or not, it does help a lot. So, and having them there, it scares people to slow down and so forth. So,
Well, thank you, Omar.
no, thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
We have 15 minutes before we end our allotted time. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Come on up, and then we'll check remotely as well.
Hi, I'm Maria Borges. I live at 13988 Lake Lure Court. And my husband and I are both very concerned about the new plans for the Gratney. By the time they do the plans according to what they showed us at that workshop, that's going to be practically in my backyard, that off-ramp. They plan on moving the canal a little bit, and the off-ramp is going to be, according to their diagrams, on this side of 130, was it 135th, 138th? It's going to be on our side, and literally from my backyard, it's probably going to be about 100 yards to the ramp. It's ridiculously close, and we'd like to know if there's any way they can change where that ramp is going to come off at, if they can move it over to the other side, because, I mean, it's going to do, besides destroying our property values, the noise level is going to be incredible, because even now we hear the noise on the Gratney. When they have their little speed races, and it happens quite often at night, they drag race up there, we can hear it. And once they put that ramp in, it's going to be as if they're in our living room.
So,
To the Vice Mayor, since he was at the workshop.
so number one, in reference to what you can do, exactly what you're already doing, making your voice heard, showing up to the GMX meetings and workshops, providing them the written public comment, because they were very specific about that. If you didn't put it on the comment card, I mean, even I filled out a comment card, knowing that I have direct connections to some of those people. I still filled out the written comment card because they said, if it's not on a written comment card, it's like you weren't even here. But I think also, I think you need to get your neighbors organized. I do want to impress on my colleagues. She's not exaggerating. That day was the first day that any of us saw the drawings. That I don't think that they were a public record prior to that day. And I've been advocating in favor of that project for a very long time. I still am, but with what was it? Ramps A and C, not B. B is the one that's the issue. And I'm gonna continue taking up that fight. And I don't think it's right the way that they're doing it. If they are gonna do that ramp, it needs to be redesigned. I propose a very simple change. Now, I am by no means an engineer. There's smarter people out there than me that have to figure that part out. But I do think it should be a right turn only if they are gonna do that one. By the way, this is the westbound side so it's on the Miami Lakes side along the gas station, right? And that's the way that it's currently drawn out. It crosses over the canal, and it's not even a stretch to say it's 20 feet from her backyard. And that is the Granny Expressway, 20 feet from her
Vice
backyard.
Mayor, just after you left on Thursday, we stayed behind and we discussed that little portion and your little idea of having it land elsewhere. And they actually found even some money savings in your proposal. So they're definitely adding it as one of the iterations that they're going to be looking at. So just so you know, because the new proposal, it's a little, it has some drawbacks that they're working through because there's some issues why the engineer had picked it to begin with to be that way, but they're working through those and trying to see if they don't have to move the canal in order to make the landing on the other side. And that's,
Yeah, and the other side of it,
so they saw some light at the end.
from a more regional perspective as well, and well, from a zoomed out Miami Lakes perspective as a representative of the town of Miami Lakes, and then for GMX's concerns as a more regional concern, the fact that the current iteration of it had the ability to make a left turn would have required signalization, meaning a traffic light. It would have given me cause for concern on having the 138th and 67th existing light, which that's a very large intersection already. The plans have for that intersection already to grow. And then on top of that, you would now add another one very close. We've seen how that looks on 154th. So if that ramp is going to go, it has to be put in. It should hug the existing main structure of the Gratney as much as possible, and then do a sharp curve at the very last second in order to accommodate the slope, and then be a right turn only directly merging into northbound 67th. That's exactly what I put onto my comment card. That's what I'm going to continue arguing for. But in terms of what you can continue to do, I think you need to get your neighbors organized. You need to get and look, to be clear, you coming out by yourself here is totally fine. The decision makers is GMX, correct? Those guys, they need to see a show of force from
Right.
all the residents there, from the condo owners, from the gas station owners. The gas station owners are going to have a tough time with that, by the way, from a commercial side, because you're going to have fast flowing traffic getting off of that Granny Expressway, making it very difficult to make a left turn if you're going southbound into the gas station, or even if you're just trying to come from Hialeah into Miami Lakes and make a right to stop at Vicky Bakery. Again, you got to contend with that traffic that's coming in hot. So that's definitely a concern. And get all of those people out there. Get Vicky Bakery, get the gas station, get all your neighbors, the barbershop. Yes. I think there's an adult daycare there. That's a good one. And also the condo. Get them out there to the GMX meetings and make sure that they're not only showing up and speaking. And what I told your husband that night still rings true. You can't stop a rising tide, but you can direct it and you can give it guidance, right? In my opinion, taking the position of, I don't want this project at all, I think that that would be an incorrect position to take.
We
But I think-
understand that it's a necessary
Yeah.
project.
Yeah.
What we don't like is that literally when they finish, it's going to be in our backyard.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
You have
they're-
every reason to, by the way.
They're moving the canal and I don't know if any of the council members other than you have seen the layout, but I have a blue roof. So if you look on the
very
layout, you
tough.
see the blue roof, that's my roof. And you can see exactly where it's going to end at my back door. And I mean, forget about the noise and everything else. It's going to just destroy our property values too.
Yeah, and I
So-
think it's safe to say that you're going to have a lot of us, I mean, a lot of us have been following the project. They just had their information session Thursday. Obviously, everybody's getting back into the swing of things for the new year and everything else. But this is something that absolutely we'll be taking a look into. And the vice mayor is usually always extremely diligent as far as helping to organize efforts. So I know he'll be in touch to help you with that as well. But do you have another question right now, or
No, and I did want to say that we filled out the comment card about the Lake Patricia Drive, how bad the traffic was, and I was really happy to see that they actually were out there the other day ticketing people for speeding, because what they do is they don't want to go by the school zone. So they cut down Lake Patricia, and we're trying to walk our dogs out there, and we have people flying down Lake Patricia to cut through because they don't want to have to go to the school zone. So I was really happy to see that they're actually starting to ticket people. So that made me really happy the other day. So I wanted to thank you for that. Thank
Oh,
you.
then, no problem. Is anyone else in chambers wanting to come up to speak at the podium, or should we go check remotely to see if there are any remote comments? All right, IT, is there any, are there any, is there anyone online wishing to speak?
There's no one with their raised hand.
Okay, perfect. So I'll close with this. I just wanted to thank all the residents who came and participated today. I want to thank our staff. I want to thank my colleagues for allowing me to have this town hall. And as you can see, there's a lot of progress being made, but these things take time. And really, this was meant to be informational for the public about the challenges that we face, right? Trying to resolve this issue, right? It's not just that we stick it on a mailer and then it gets forgotten about. It's just literally, it could take anywhere from 4 to even 8 years to get something done in this particular area, right? But we wanted to make this available to you to hear your concerns and give you information. So with that, it's 8:23 p.m. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.